hello there. My name is HW.
Hey, I'm the Sooze.
Sooze, we're trying to answer the question today. How close do pedal profiles sound to using the real pedal?
Okay, so like baked in.
So yeah, when we bake in profiles, in Tone Junkie profiles, when we put in a protein drive or a clon or anything, how close is that to actually owning the pedal and just running it into the Kemper yourself?
Like a clean profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've gotten this question before. It's one that I've speculated on, but I haven't really known the answer because I've never done this back and forth until right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give my opinion. Let's just try it.
Yeah.
So right here, we gave away some profiles in a previous video, and it was the Match, Avenge, Clean. We call them the Brownie profiles because it was really covering a bunch of profiles of this protein drive. You know, we did that into a matchless, and we thought they sounded cool together. So we did that. Brownie profiles. Here we have the Match, Avenge, Clean, and then 3 levels of this pedal here. So we've got B1, G1, B and G together. We've mimicked those same settings on this profile. So this is, if not identical, nearly identical to what we used to make these profiles.
Okay.
So let's just straight up try it, okay? I'm going to turn the pedal off. Here's the clean by itself, just for fun, just for reference, so they can hear what this sounds like with no pedals.
So this is no baked in or...
No, nothing baked in. This is just a clean platform we're using. Now, I'm going to turn on the blues breaker side of this brown protein drive, and we're going to hear how that sounds. Then we're going to compare it to a profile that we created with that pedal baked in.
Okay, and then the amp set like that is. Okay.
Yep, same amp. Yep, this is the platform that we use to make the profiles.
Cool, okay.
Go ahead. That was the pedal. Here's the profile. Pretty close.
Really close.
Let's try the G side. So here we're back on the clean profile, and we're doing the ODR1 side, and that's here we go. This is kind of a boosted, compressy thing. That was the pedal. Here is the profile.
Impressive.
Impressive, right? Okay, here is both of those together. So here's the blues breaker adding some of its lighter drive, but it's being pushed now by that sort of ODR1 boosty side. Let's hear how that sounds. Cool, that was the pedal. Here is the profile. Wow. Initial thoughts, Sooze?
A lot closer than I thought going into this experiment.
Yeah, me too, actually.
It's like, are you playing tricks on me?
Yeah. There are some differences, but honestly, there were some differences that I heard on some and really not so much on the others. So I didn't do anything to the EQs. It's possible I nudged a tone or something, but we got this as close as we could setting it back up. I mean, there seems to be some difference in the bottom end sometimes.
Yeah, I think when the pedal is on, I think I'm hearing a little bit more low end and feeling it.
Yeah.
You know, on the chunky stuff.
Yeah.
And then also, I think there's a difference in the compression, like the feel of playing when the pedal's on. It feels a little squishier. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like there's almost a separate squishiness I can feel in the pedal versus the profile. But when it's baked in, it sort of all goes together under one feel. You know.
Yeah, and if we think about why that might be, you know, the Kemper is really designed to capture amplifiers, and when you have a pedal and an amplifier, you are in essence running. Of course, in an amplifier, there's multiple levels of compression. There's multiple gain stages. You have amps that break up at the preamp. You have amps that break up on the first tube, on the second side of that first tube, then another, you know, that 2 gain stages just in a 12AX7 right there, right? Then you can cascade tubes for higher gain stuff. You have compression and breakup happening all in those places. Then you think of something like a plexi. You have a phase inverter. Most of your breakups happening there. So when you're thinking of different circuits, you can have different levels of breakup and stuff. You can have multiple sort of levels of gain staging, multiple levels of compression. But especially when you use a pedal, you have compression that can take place in that pedal and then again in the amplifier. And that could actually create a chain that maybe the Kemper doesn't, maybe it sort of sums it together and treats it like here was an amp that was that dirty, and it doesn't quite capture both the... I'm thinking, now, these differences are quite... They're not that big.
It's splitting hairs.
I mean, it really is splitting hairs. My ears are telling me they're very close. But play this again. Here's where I notice a little difference in the bass.
Okay. I'll use the neck, so it's a little bit...
Yeah. So here is the Match Avenge Clean profile. This is the amp settings that were used for all of these profiles, whether baked in or not. And here is the pedal on that B1 side, that blues breaker. That was the pedal. Here is the profile.
Yeah, to me, that feels tighter. Like when I'm playing, I feel like the low end is bassy, but it's also like limiting.
Yeah.
I feel like with the pedal on, it's almost flubby, like it's hitting that amp like in a bloated way.
Yeah.
And again, small amounts, but I think maybe playing it, I'm also feeling it give. You know.
There's some other variables we could introduce here. You know, at times we've talked about the headroom trick. And I'm sure we're going to get that question, are you using the headroom trick? We're not using the headroom trick here, because if we were to use the headroom trick, we'd be using a different profile with a different gain setting and then back it down. Now, maybe that's a way that pedals, we feel like they respond better, but we're trying to do an A-B comparison here.
Right.
We have profiled so many amps. One of the things we've noticed is that the Kemper has a tendency to tighten up the bottom end.
Yeah.
So much so that when we're in the studio or in NHW's place making profiles, we've noticed that when things are very clean, people will maybe prefer an amp or prefer the Kemper. But as the amp gets dirtier, people actually start preferring the Kemper because it tightens the low end. It seems to tighten a little bit around 100, kind of where you would notch out some low end guitar stuff. It seems to tighten it up a little bit. And we've looked at it, right, before too, and you could see a little bit of it there. It has a tendency to do that.
Right.
So you're saying it's tighter when we bake in the profile.
Yeah.
I would say that's what we've noticed when we've made lots of profiles. We've seen it do that before.
Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, the Kemper doesn't know that we're using a pedal and an amp. It just thinks we're using a gainy sound and tries to profile that, you know, into a profile.
And it's, you know, sometimes people get caught up on like, what guitar did you use to profile? The Kemper is doing a very scientific thing. The reason you plug your guitar into the Kemper in the profiling process is because it needs a known signal. It's listening to your amp signal, to your guitar, the direct sound of your guitar. Then it's listening to the line level microphone data that comes back, and it's comparing those two.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter what guitar you use when you profile. It matters because if you use a single coil, you might set the amp up to sound good with single coils.
Right.
It matters in that way. But it doesn't matter, for this.
This isn't making the profile sound different.
It's not.
Other than how you set it.
It's not. And because of that, the Kemper is just comparing, here's what we put in. I can hear the guitar signal dry with no effects on it. I can hear the direct guitar signal. And then here's what's coming back to me. And yeah, it has no way of really knowing how many gain stages were in that. All it can do is really listen to what it's hearing.
Right.
And it's going to try to create an algorithm that maps all that out. Compression, amplification, frequency response, all that stuff.
Yeah. What went in, what changed it, and then this came out. So it's trying to capture that what changed it.
Yeah, totally. So my ears tell me it's close, but you're feeling more of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, and it might be another way of saying I like how pedals feel in line. Like in my signal chain, I just like having a pedal there that, when I'm hitting that, I feel like it's giving it a compression,
On a percentage basis, how close are the sound of the pedals and or the feel to the profile?
Oh gosh, 5%.
5% difference?
Yeah.
So it's small. I mean, we're...
Oh yeah. Once you get any other instrumentalist with me, it's 0%.
You're not
right.
noticing.
Yeah.
Let's try this G one again, because this is the one, to me, it was actually so close I really couldn't even hear the difference.
So this is the pedal and the clean amp?
Yeah, this is the clean amp and the clean profile and the pedal. That was the pedal. Here's the profile with it baked in. I gotta be honest, I'm in this room, we're listening through some monitors, I'm not hearing a difference.
Yeah, that one's definitely closer, and I think because that feels really compressed, and the green side feels really compressed. So
right.
They're
So
getting closer.
They're both really compressed. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try these two sides together, because this is where I thought I heard the most difference. Here is both sides stacked into a clean Kemper profile.
Okay.
Okay, that was the pedal. Here is the profile with that baked in. This one to me has the most obvious difference in the low end. The low end's a little deeper, a little more bellowy. Now, we could probably adjust that on the profile to go closer.
Totally.
We could make an EQ adjustment. We could adjust the definition possibly.
Yeah.
We could get those closer, I'm sure. But what did you feel playing it?
I mean, to me, that one's really close too. I would say the biggest difference to me is the blue side and the G1.
Yeah.
Profile. That one, I don't know. It almost seemed like the one with the pedal on it is a little bit more like livelier feeling, or again, I think I'm really going towards that compression thing. It just feels a little snappier, like a livelier thing. That one feels, I might mess with, if I was using that profile, I might mess with the compression settings in the amp section or something.
And bring it down.
Yeah, just to kind of see what that would do to the overall feel of it.
Yeah, we've got and this is kind of a debate we were having. We always set the compression parameter in the amp section to 1.5. To me, that's where it feels natural. I think that actually is probably closer to how like Voxy amps feel, maybe something in the 30 watt range. That might be a little more compression than you really would get in a tight, stiff feeling, something like a Marshall DSL. Like a modern Marshall has a much more stiff feel. And that could be loosening it up a little bit. That might just be my preference. It's how I dial it in, you know what I mean?
Right.
It could maybe if we put those at 0, we're getting closer, but this is kind of the use case that we think people are running into. They're going to use a clean profile along with some of the ones. Yeah. And when we're baking these in.
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear just a run through of how they clean up, just turning down my volume, with the pedal on versus the profiles.
Let's try it.
Yeah, I'll just go to like halfway on the middle position.
Yeah, here's B1, or here's the profile into the clean profile with the protein drive on the Bluesbreaker set.
All right, so this is the guitar middle position, volume's at 6 out of 10.
That was the pedal. Here is the profile with it baked in.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the pedal to me seemed a little thinner, more anemic sounding. And then that profile with the pedal baked in, I don't know, it felt more usable, I guess, or just like a clean amp again.
Yeah, how it sounded to me, just listening right here, was that it sounded like the profile with the pedal baked in was a little more compressed, and that helped those two sounds kind of come to the same volume. And that goes back to like that debate of like, how much is the amplifier section compressor affecting the results here?
Right.
The real point of that amplifier section compressor is meant to give you compression kind of in the spot that in an ideal world you would really want it. The amp is where you get all the touch sensitivity, those gain stages, right? The preamp and the power amp, but the preamp really. Being able to put a compressor between there and the cabinet, or just anywhere kind of after your amp, is the same thing as it's allowing you to have the touch sensitivity to control gain with your picking dynamic, but then it's evening out the actual dynamic of the volume afterwards. So playing light and getting a clean that's the similar or same volume as your dug in dirty sound is actually a lot easier with that Kemper compressor set higher than lower. Now we have it at a pretty conservative setting, but to me it sounds like the summing together of the gain of the pedal with the gain of the amplifier when that profile is created is creating more gain, and that gain, when you clean it up with that extra compression in the amp section, gives you a little better kind of feel, evened out dynamics, but still very touch sensitive.
Yeah.
Whereas the gain stage of the pedal going into a lesser gained profile isn't quite getting as saturated and isn't as forgiving when you want to clean it up with dynamics.
Yeah, because with both of them it got cleaner, but with the pedal in line it got...
it felt out of breath.
Yeah, like it couldn't quite make it.
And there wasn't as much quite sustain on all the notes,
That's interesting.
It's interesting.
Want to try the green?
Yeah, let's try the green. Here is... here's the clean profile and the ODR one side of the pedal.
Cool. I'm still on 6 here.
Cool. That was the pedal. Here's the profile with that pedal baked in.
Yes, I mean, still louder, with that one versus the one the pedal's on. EQ and gain level were pretty close.
Yeah, that one seemed very close. Feel-wise, did it feel closer or further off?
A touch closer than the blue, but the biggest thing I'm noticing is the baked-in profile stay loud.
Yeah.
Just cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. They have a little more evened out dynamic, and that only Christoph knows.
He knows.
You know what I mean? Like there's a level of complexity here. But for this use case, for the practical purposes of comparing them, and for the practical purpose of Kemper aficionados and players and enthusiasts like ourselves going, and someone like me whose main sound is a king of tone into a 90s 6-input Vox AC30 TB. Like, that's my sound. I love that sound. I played that amp and that pedal, and now I play a Kemper profile every week of that. It's the HW Nose Tone Performance. To me, I love the feel of it, and I've been able to make some EQ adjustments to really dial it in for like a Sunday morning to really sound how I want it to sound, so it sounds good in the band. It seems like probably the sound I'm getting is pretty true to the sound I was getting before, you know what I mean? Which I think is good news.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're curious about the protein and you get these profiles and you like them, you know, you're getting a sound that's pretty true.
Yeah, and of course, you're only getting the sound of that pedal with this amp.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? You can't use it with something else. It's just this is the sound of that pedal with these settings pushing that amp with those settings.
Right.
It's very sort of.
It's a snapshot of one moment.
It's a snapshot. It's a limited. It's a limited sort of thing. Totally. You know what I mean? You have some adjustment over EQ, but are we saying the pedals are made obsolete by the Kemper? I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I think pedals are so fun, and there's a million combinations of settings and everything. A profiler couldn't capture all of them. But you can, with the Kemper, take your favorite settings and your favorite combinations of gear, take your rig, capture it, and even capture it with pedals, and still get, I think, a sound with the profiles that's as authentic as the Kemper just profiling an amp.
Yeah, and it kind of solves one of the problems is I wish the Kemper had more drives. You know, like if you're already using the Match Avenge and you're like, man, I wish I had a blues breaker built into the Kemper.
Right.
It gives people, you know, that are profiling the opportunity to say, well, here you go. Like,
right.
You know, here's an ODR1, here's a blues breaker, you know. And so now, I mean, the stomps that are available are unlimited based on what you want to put in your profiles.
Right. You know? You and I were having this conversation earlier, which was when we play the Kemper by itself and we profile some amps and then we make those into a performance and we start to use the green scream and the mouse and the soft shaper. We play just the Kemper as an all-in-one unit. We never really go, gosh, I wish we had more pedals. Or gosh, I'm looking for a crunch sound. Because we have them.
Yeah.
So
even switching to a different amplifier completely, you know.
So a little bit, we're just talking about like options for the sake of options. We're talking about pedals for the sake of variety.
It's because we're tone junkies.
It's because we're tone junkies. I just want to make the point that practically, is this even really important? You know, I've really never been playing the Kemper and went, man, I just wish I had this pedal right now. And I mean, because I baked pedals that I really like in, but honestly, man, I could take any pack and just throw in a green screen when I want to boost, or throw in a soft shaper when I want to boost, or throw in a mouse OD. And really, I just use the amp kind of OD. You know what I mean? I'm not really always looking for a pedal. But pedals are great flavors and they're awesome. Well, there we go.
That was helpful.
Yeah. It answered a question for me.
Yeah. That's great.
I've been HW.
The Sooze.
Sooze, why don't you play us out? I like this green sound. Match Avenge G1. It's in those brownie profiles.
It does sound pretty good.